Even money is going digital, but for many of us, words like crypto, NFTs, digital assets, it's all a bit confusing. Enter Moonpay, the company hoping to make cryptocurrency accessible to everyone. Users can conveniently purchase cryptocurrencies using credit cards, debit cards, and even local bank transfers. Moonpay is active in more than 160 countries and is trusted by 300 and plus leading wallets, websites, and applications to accept payments and defeat fraud. Joining us is their product lead, Christopher Rivers, who believes you do not need any prior crypto experience to start. Thank you so much, Christopher, for being here today. I wanted to start off by mentioning, I obviously found you on LinkedIn, but I saw that your title says product lead at Moonpay. Now, can you explain what this means and what you do exactly at Moonpay?
Yeah, absolutely. So product lead is sort of the step above like product manager. So it's very similar to like a product management type role. We act very independently on our different like verticals. And really what my job is to sort of figure out what the industry, what the Web3 audience is looking for, and how to bring those concepts to Moonpay, especially around our minting product, which is we call Hypermint, which powers a lot of big drops. It's an enterprise grade minting product. And then our wallet infrastructure. And sort of our authorization pieces, logging in with our account to set up a wallet. So those are the kind of the three things that I sort of sit on top of and lead. And our job, our focus is really to improve the user experience across the board, make it easier to get into the NFT space or really the digital collectible space or the crypto space in general. And then for creators, making it super easy to go from like content idea to actual creation without, removing all the friction in the way, sort of abstracting away the ideas of smart contracts and all the different sort of technological hurdles that could be there. So that's really what I'm focused on right now.
So then this is the perfect question. My next question being, what makes Moonpay so unique compared to everybody else?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think a few different things. One, we are obviously a really large entity in the crypto space. So we've been a major player for a long time. So we got the longevity and sort of the trust that we're going to be around for a while and not just sort of disappear. Right? We saw a lot in 2021, especially of tooling and infrastructure companies stand up. A lot of those went out of business in 2022. And the people who were using those tools sort of were left hanging, right? So we're obviously not going anywhere anytime soon. It's a major advantage, and I think really the other, another big differentiator on our side is sort of the different clients that we have worked with and the amount of expertise that we've built up along the way. Moonpay kind of cut its teeth in the checkout space, using Moonpay checkout to help people buy collectibles like NFTs. Using fiat, not having to have the cryptocurrency first, right? And we saw a number of major buys, especially from celebrities in 2021 of Yuga assets, right? Everybody was buying a Bored Ape, through them, Jimmy Fallon, Eminem, et cetera, right? So we go back pretty far, especially in the crypto space, in the Ethereum crypto space, with kind of fiat to crypto interactions, things like that. So we're able to kind of bring that expertise, all the learnings that we have, all the things we've interacted with the customers in our major like enterprises to every user. So we sort of understand the bigger use cases and then can really optimize them for everyone, right? So I think that's really why we're a major player in the space. Certainly, if you look at the ramping type experiences, right? Like we move away from collectibles and talk more about actually buy, sell, and swap of crypto. Moonpay is like one of the largest by volume and one of the largest players in the space. But what I think we really do really well is improve the user experience in that aspect too. So we're always iterating on like, how do we remove friction from the buying experience, from the selling experience, from the swapping experience? How do we make it easier for new users to get into it? Things like that. And so you'll really notice a differentiator between, say, our widget experiences and other ramping widget experiences. That it's much easier to use. And then sort of finally, we're a lot more reliable from a approval standpoint, especially in the United States, where it can be a little sketchy. You know, there's like some states where you can't do any crypto transacting at all. Like New York comes to mind. It's really, really hard to transact. We're way ahead of the curve on all the regulation stuff like that. So we definitely make sure that you have the best chance of getting approved using Moonpay as well. So I think those are our sort of our big differentiators. And then, you know, we could talk about like talent and company acquisition and things like that, where we've acquired a lot of technology and people that are really native to the space, which is incredibly important because, in my opinion, if you're not like living, breathing Web3 24/7, you're going to be left behind, right? Like if I take a week vacation, I feel like I'm completely out of the loop. It's going to take me 3 days to catch back up, right? But we have all those people that are just like me at the space, in the space. So it's really helpful working with people that understand sort of the ebbs and flows of the Web3 industry.
I think too, you know, I was going through the website and playing with the app and whatnot. What's been interesting to see too is the fact that you also accept, like you said, money. Because for those who don't understand crypto, fiat is probably like not a term they use, but you can just take your credit card, your debit cards, and purchase crypto using Moonpay, which I think a lot of people who are probably not in this space still don't understand that there's so many steps in order to buy crypto, just that itself, right? So Moonpay facilitates that a lot for a lot of people. And you mentioned those celebrities and people in New York because of, you know, the fact that, well, these regulations have not been cleared yet. We still don't know, you know, what's right or wrong. Are we doing something wrong if we're buying certain things? So Moonpay is removing that friction, which is great. It's good. We need more people like this because there's just too many steps and too many barriers to get, you know, even my mother to start buying.
Right. I mean, it's true. You know, look at your standard flow for getting something. If I want to make a crypto purchase, say without our products or without someone's products, I have to sign up for a centralized exchange like a Coinbase or a Kraken or something like that. A Binance, I guess, would be the big one. I have to deposit money on there, right, and then swap that to purchase a crypto or buy in general, and then I have to wait some period of time, usually 5 to 7 days, for that to clear. And then I have to send it from said exchange to my external wallet, which I've already had to create separately, right, and secure. And then once that money's in there, then I can connect to external sites and start to do things, right? It's a huge process, and it takes, you know, like takes a ton of time. And so, yeah, we're trying to remove that, and like you said, remove the friction and make it a lot easier for regular people to go from like zero to collecting, you know, immediately. And I think that's actually something the entire space should focus on, right? Like we all need to improve the user experience because across the board, like minting and buying and selling and it's just can be a hassle, right? It feels like a barrier sometimes, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Do you guys offer any staking at all? I wasn't sure to see that. Any staking options?
Moonpay does not. We don't do staking. We don't custody any funds in general for that reason. You can use Moonpay to on-ramp and then connect to stakers like Eigenlayer comes to mind, or we're expanding our Cosmos offering really soon. So things like staking Injective, Atom, and Celestia, things of that nature. But we don't have any native staking on platform. And actually that's by design as well, because of the different various regulations across the board. We want to be able to offer our products to as many people as possible. And like a lot of staking, for example, isn't allowed to be offered in the United States, or, you know, the way like I know Coinbase does it, for example. For some of their offerings, you can get some like native yield just holding it. But it's something that we haven't focused on yet. But who knows in the future, especially, we do want to expand to be all EVM chain compatible for our wallet, for all of our products. And looking at like a chain like Blast, for example, Blast has native yield just by being on the chain. So if we're going to kind of interact with Blast, maybe it's possible there's something in there like we're showing how like the yield is working. We haven't thought really that far through it yet, but it's a great question and something we might look into in the future.
Now, of course, we have you on today to also talk about this new creator tool set that Moonpay is going to launch. Anything you can tell us right now ahead of the launch? Who is this for? How does this work?
Yeah, so great question. So yes, we are dangerously close to releasing our self-service creator tool product. In fact, it actually is working for minting and all the things. We just haven't really rolled it out yet. So it actually is working today. And you can go to dashboard.moonpay.com and sign up. But who is it for? So it's a tool set for everyone. It's enterprise grade tools for everyone is kind of how I see it. So with like the minting product, for example, we can, if needed, scale up to do 100,000 mints per hour. Most people don't need that type of capability, but we powered. This is the same tool set that powered the Limit Break Super Bowl release, that powered the Nike "This Is Not a JPEG" shoes, like their Air Force One drops. So that's like the battle tested scalability that we have. And so that's available for everyone to use. So your regular project and creator can be not limited by overcapacity or things like that we sometimes see in some of these highly anticipated minting drops, right? There'll be things that go wrong. I can't connect to the DApp, or my connection times out, things of that. And so we make it really easy to use something that's super like powerful like that. But at the same time, it's all no code driven. So it's really made for people who don't need to do custom contracts or don't want to. Maybe you're an artist and you do want to get creation out in the public and things like that. You have an idea for a project. You have a platform that you just need minting on. All of those are great use cases for it, in my opinion. And then we also offer sort of as part of that, right? If you're trying to build like a full site, you can come to our tool set. You can get an authorization, so log in, you can get users to generate a wallet. You can get the minting product. You can have users mint or purchase with crypto or with fiat or regular money, credit cards, all with a single implementation. So the idea is that a lot of times, like there's a lot of companies that do some of that bundle, right? Your Magic links and your Dynamics to do authorization in wallets. There's like Zoras and things like that who do like the minting. But like if you wanted to say build a full site or build a full experience and tie all those things together, a lot of times right now you're using 3 to 5 different companies to do that with different products. Our thought was that you can go to one company, one product suite, and do it in a single implementation, and that simplifies the process. So really that's who we're targeting. And that basically is an audience of everyone. But I'd say like, your people who want to build a larger project, or your people that have aspirations like that are most likely going to get the best benefits from our product because of the different scalability.
And I'm assuming too, for creators, it's going to be easier for them to manage everything, right? Like who owns what, how many were minted, do they get some sort of database, some sort of feedback, a dashboard or something? Yeah,
that's a great question. Great comment, actually. Yes, we do have a full analytics dashboard per collection or overall roll up of transactions. I can see who's holding what. I can see how many tokens have been minted, how much revenue or funds that have generated, who those users are, like what their Web3 addresses are. If they give us permission, then we also can kind of get more information to the creator, like the email addresses that are associated with their Web3 wallet that's minting. Again, that has to be user permission, so we won't share it unless you give us explicit permission to. And then really, so yes, all of those things, and then also like your transactions around your fiat checkout too, right? Or secondary sales transactions. All of that data is available for you on platform. All of it is like exportable, and also with the payment structure, you have the ability to set up like on-chain splitter contracts. Again, no code, just deploy it right away. So if you have a bunch of people on the team who are like sharing the proceeds, and you're not using like a single multi-sig like safe or something like that, you can do it to where the fund, every time the funds come into a contract, it splits and distributes it automatically. So again, sort of peace of mind, not having to worry about how to distribute funds or capture like receipts and things like that. And the other one major feature I actually didn't mention is that you have the ability as a creator to make it sort of gasless for your users. So it's a big feature for enterprises, right? A lot of enterprises want to not have to have their users sort of on-ramp Matic or ETH in order to mint their thing, even if it's free, right? So with our minting system, you can choose to have the users pay the gas, the end user pays the gas, or in most instances, you'll pay that gas fee for them via credits, and the user will basically have a free minting experience, which is really valuable if you want to really expand the reach of a project. I think is removing all the barriers to entry, especially for the normal people or non Web3 natives, if you will, that don't have a wallet right away. Trying to explain to teach someone how to mint something on Polygon is really not super easy when you need to have Matic for gas, but ETH to pay the cost. It can be very complicated. So again, it's all about abstracting complexity and simplifying it for the end user. And that's really what we try to focus on.
Yeah, I was going to say, this sounds very much like a plug and go. So for even a creator who's heard about NFTs or is thinking about this process, they don't have to now go back and think through the whole technology behind it. Moonpay is basically giving you a silver platter and you get to pick and choose.
That's exactly right. Like our thesis, like, and what was my thesis before joining and still is at my previous company, is that like, there's a lot of people who want to be involved in the Web3 space. The Web3 is hard. It's complex. It's not the same thing as doing Web2 development. And so we can extract the solidity away from people not having to do that, and just extract all the complexity and really make it super easy. I mean, it's something that Squarespace did for websites, and a lot of people are doing across for different technologies. We want to do it for Web3 and be the one that everyone turns to when they think of how to simplify their experiences.
I was going to ask you, based off your previous jobs, what got you into Web3, and then what made you want to go work for Moonpay? So maybe start with what got you into Web3. What's that aha moment for you? What was that like?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been like in the using cryptocurrencies since like 2011, 2010, maybe.
Wow. So you're early.
But,
you've been around.
I didn't like hold forever or, become super rich from it, unfortunately. But I did like use Bitcoin to buy things back in the day. Or like, I remember when sports betting wasn't sort of accepted everywhere in the United States, we would use Bitcoin to bet on games on like, the Penguin Club. And it was like, I remember betting like a half Bitcoin, per game, because it was worthless, right? It was like nothing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Right now it's like, oh crap. I should have probably held on to that.
You're like the guy who bought 2 pizzas.
Like the pizzas, yeah, exactly. The pizza guy, exactly like that. So we definitely have just spent it like it was digital currency. But I thought it was really interesting, the idea of, this is a currency not owned by the government or not backed by anything, not the US dollar is backed by anything, but not backed by anything but math. I was like, that's cool. And then it was really the aha moment was when Ethereum launched. So one of my best friends, he got in on the ICO of Ethereum and never sold, by the way, still hasn't sold. So he got like 5,000 or 10,000 Ethereum at the 30 cent launch price. but we were talking, I know, we were talking about like what it is. I was like, what is this thing you're doing? And he was explaining the idea of decentralized applications and decentralized computing and all that, and how this would power it. And I was like, this is the future, right? Like, this is absolutely the future. Like, why would we ever power anything on a centralized server that's fully controllable by someone? They can take it down when instead we could, be powered by all the computers, all the nodes, things like that. So it was really around the launch of Ethereum that I was thinking about how we get involved in this. And it wasn't until it must have been 5 or 10 years later that we found a way, right? And found a good way to break into the space. I saw there was a company, my previous one, called Nifty's. They were looking for product people, and I'd been in product management for about 10 years or so at the time. And I had always wanted to work in the Web3 space, just like everybody else who collects NFTs, right? Especially from 2020, like, how do we go full-time crypto? And so it kind of worked out. I was able to I talked to them. I had been collecting, I figured out sort of collecting NFTs in early 2020 based on some artists that I was following, plus, Nifty Gateway. Nifty Gateway was a good entryway to get your first hit into the Web3 space, into the NFTs. And so, I just kind of broke in there. And actually, like, that company, we kind of pivoted that company from sort of doing enterprise drops. So we were doing IP drops for people. We did Game of Thrones. I remember Salad Fingers. We did the Matrix drop. We did Looney Tunes. So we were powering big IP, but I really wanted to sort of decentralize the utility from NFTs. So in a way, like, the way I think of it right now is that NFTs, while are obviously decentralized technology, utility is very centralized. It's like unowner, the project owner, DGOZ is a great one to point out, because Frank is an easy one to show who he is, or K-Rose for Moonbirds. Like, they own all the utility for a project, right? And so if they're not doing anything, or if they're not powering anything, everybody's just waiting and asking, when can I do something? Mm-hmm. And so really the thought that I had, and that like our team sort of agreed on, was that maybe we can decentralize the utility as well, just like we're decentralizing all of the technology, and make it so that anybody can create an experience for this community. If you're a community member, you want to power an experience. And so that's what we built, was a tool set to allow users to create utility for what you do with an NFT after minting it. Like, my thought was that minting was basically commoditized. I can literally point to 174 different sites where I can mint an NFT today, for example. Not all of them do it well, but they could. But there was no place where we could really be like, all right, so once that NFT has been done, what can we do with it? Like, how do we create staking, for example, right? Staking to yield other things. There just wasn't a place to do that. So we built a system where you can create different NFT experiences from existing collections, like adding a burn and replace to it, like adding a staking mechanism that yields other NFTs, like adding a leaderboard and sort of gamification stuff, things of that nature. And we built that technology, and actually Moonpay acquired us. And that's how I got to Moonpay, actually, was they bought us to increase what their capability was in the Web3 space. They also saw the value in being able to not just mint, but also kind of do something else with the NFTs, and that was the future of digital collectibles in general. And so now that's what I'm working on here. Again, we talked about sort of all of the infrastructure plays, but at the same time, we're also adding sort of new utility-based things so that we can bring like new experiences to the Web3 space. And some of those, that I can think of are like scavenger hunt experience around New York City that we did, which is really cool. And we've got some really cool things coming up with sort of digital and IRL interactions going forward, and that are coming out this quarter and next quarter. So yeah, I'm really excited to see sort of what everyone can do the collectibles and the communities they're in, because I think it's true, and hopefully this stands true, is that like the NFT is only as valuable as like the community behind it. And so we're trying to increase sort of user value across the board by giving people a lot of experiences that they can build with their NFTs. And so that's really how I got into the Web3 space. While I still think I'm bullish on the Web3 space, and how we got to Moonpay.
Yeah, it's so interesting that because you mentioned, oh, well, of course, let's get off this centralized system and let's go decentralized. A lot of my friends think I'm in a cult now. So how did you, like, why did it make sense for you? Like, what were you seeing going on? What was going around? Like, what was going on around you that made you think this is the answer to X, Y, Z?
Right. So around the time, there's infinity data breaches, for one, but then those all happen because there's a centralized server holding all the data, right? All the information. But at the same time, things like AWS weren't as stable as they are now. But even still, AWS goes down, Microsoft Azure goes down, Google Cloud goes down, sites go down. And they don't have to, I guess was the point. Like, there doesn't have to be a lack of reliability or relying on a single centralized node. And I was also big in the gaming space at the time. I don't get to as much now, but thinking through the gaming aspects, we were like, yeah, these are really cool. We were playing a lot of World of Warcraft, League of Legends, things of that nature, WoW 3, Dota, Defense of the Agents, it makes sense. Like, you can buy all these things on those games, right? But you don't own them. You're just kind of renting them and things like that. And we were like, wow, it'd be really cool if we could earn something in Diablo 3 and sell it or something like that, right? Or not have to sell our entire Ultima Online account if you want to sell an item, like people were doing on eBay back in like the early to mid 2000s. So like all of those kind of use cases just kept popping up in our conversations, and we just kept talking about, what can we, like, what are our problems with current, technologies in general, and what are the issues, and then sort of more philosophically, like, what are potential issues if someone like a single billionaire owns something as big as, like, I don't know, Twitter or something. And, obviously that could never happen, but if it did, what could that mean? What could they prevent? What could they block? And how can decentralization solve those issues, right? Granted, blue sky hasn't gotten off the ground, but if it ever does, maybe. So I think that's kind of, where the conversations went, and what I'm still hopeful about is that, we can get off the reliability on like single server things, server clusters, Kubernetes, whatever. And at the same time, sort of increase the reliability and increase the usefulness of experiences across the board. That being said, I also have the hypothesis that I think is being proven to be true, is that the use cases from the blockchain are probably going to be like centralized experiences built on top of this decentralized technology, as opposed to being fully decentralized experiences. So like your big companies, like your Visas and your MasterCards and your American Expresses or JP Morgans, a funny comment about them from earlier, but anyway, they will still be able to like provide like the best experiences. Only they can use the sort of decentralized layer to make the user experience better for someone else, right? I always think of the like credit card clearing example when it comes to like what Visa can offer us right now. Like, I think a business might pay like 2.5%, 3% per transaction on their transaction fees. But imagine when we're only paying like 5 cents per transaction, regardless of the fee, right? And how competitive we can get those things down, and what that unlocks for our like users who are using them. They can reduce prices for us. They can accept more different payment methods and things like that. And I mean, like, so again, that's like a centralized experience, payment processing by a single company built on top of our decentralized technology. that increases the usefulness and availability for everyone. And I think that's what the future is. So hopefully I'm trying to help shape that now.
Love that. Yeah, let's get into the emerging chains, with new blockchains like Cosmos. And I don't even know if you can maybe explain to us what Cosmos is and how Moonpay is sort of like what the approach is for Moonpay with Cosmos.
Yeah, so Cosmos, the ecosystem, I think it's IBC in general, right? Inter blockchain communication. It's like I want to say a cluster of blockchains, like modular blockchains, built sort of on the same underlying technology. Trying to like simplify it a little bit. But basically your Cosmos is powered by Atom, ATOM. And that SDK was used to make Celestia, which is TIA, big one right now. Injective is part of that ecosystem. SEI, I think that's how you say it, SEI, is part of that ecosystem. Kujo or Kujira, Osmosis, et cetera. So there's a bunch of different blockchains being spun up for individual, usually single use cases. And so like Injective is trying to be the finance blockchain. Celestia is trying to be modular. They're doing Dimension comes out next week. They're trying to be like the L2, the roll-ups of L2, things like that. So it's effectively a bunch of technology chains trying to like push a single goal forward, I guess is the way I would summarize it. Why is it so interesting? Because it's where, to me, it's where all the attention is right now, and where attention and hype is, that's where the funds, like the money is right now.
But why do you think that is? Like, why is the attention? Because you're right. I've been noticing like Injection, SCI. I've been seeing them more even on my timeline. Why is it grabbing this attention right now?
Yeah, so I think a few things. One, super low transaction costs. It's like zero to transact, just like Solana, and why Solana got huge and it got really big in December. Out of the blue, it went from 77 to 120. It got just huge because of the low transaction fees. So I think that's number one, right? Like people are just tired of transacting on Ethereum L1s because it's super expensive. If I want to mint something, for free, it's going to cost me $50.
Yeah.
And that's not fun. I think another major reason is because over $1.4 billion of Ethereum is locked up on Blast right now. And that's only Blast. That's not counting what's locked up in Blur or what's locked up in Manta. So a lot of Ethereum is that would normally be associated with NFTs is completely locked right now. So there's not a lot of transacting going on that from those people, right? All the value is gone. And really the other big thing is because it's kind of new, it's getting all the airdrop attention. That's why everybody wants to be a part of it right now, is because I believe we broke the streak a couple of days ago, but for 2024, there was every single day a new airdrop was announced for Celestia. And as a result, people want to get into it. When you have to stake on a validator, like where they use validators for their consensus algorithm, which is a little bit different than say a Bitcoin or Ethereum does. Ethereum kind of uses it now too, but anyway, that's why the transactions are super cheap. But if you stake with a validator, you're locked up for 21 days. It's a 21-day unstaking period. So it really becomes like the best Ponzi scheme of all time, right? Because like as the token goes up, people want to buy it, but you can't really sell it for 3 weeks. So you're kind of like, okay, what can I do? If I stake it, then I'm eligible for airdrops. And so that's sort of, it kind of gets it all going. That being said, there's also a whole lot of development on Injective with the NFT space. That's sort of fading a little bit, like your Quants and your Ninjas were the top communities, are the top communities there. They're kind of fading. But the NFT world, especially like the NFT Twitter, has really picked up on the cheap transactions. Like Saya is huge, right? There's like WeBump and Colony, but there's a bunch of people coming out. Like Stargaze.zone, that's another new marketplace, right? Bad Kids are on there. And they're worth $4,000 a piece, right? Out of nowhere. So it's really crazy the amount of liquidity that's actually available in the space when you think of it. And people are wanting to not transact super high and really interact with people that are doing innovative new things. I think, one of the big things for those chains is that staking is kind of a big part of it. Airdrops are a big part of the ecosystem, things of that nature. So I think that's why the attention's there now. I do think people should tread cautiously, because just like we saw with like Ohm and Time a couple years back, right? Like eventually all Ponzi's collapse, and there needs to be good underlying technology. I do think Celestia has a lot of really good underlying technology and is going to make it, and the whole kind of Cosmos ecosystem in general, they're trying to do a lot of good things. But there's like 100 or so different chains on there right now. And for sure, not all of them are going to survive, right? Like Stargaze is optimizing for NFT usage, but they're also going to be competing with Frame, who's coming out, this month, and their mainnet will roll out over the next couple of months. But Frame is also trying to position themselves as the blockchain for NFTs. And so as chains become more specialized, they'll also have more competition. And so it'll be really interesting to see sort of who wins, because I do think there will be a front runner and they will dominate the space, just like Ethereum NFTs dominate the space, just like Polymarket is starting to dominate the prediction markets, right? Like Augur has been around as a prediction market for 5, 7, maybe 8 years. But Augur, the Augur token, REP, right? A lot of people don't know what that is, haven't heard of that. It's the same thing as Polymart, only it was built on a new token at the time that never really took off, never gained traction. But when you bring that same concept to Polygon, which is a huge token, right, huge ecosystem, now it's exploding. And so, it'll be interesting, like I said, it'll be interesting to see sort of who wins in this L2 race, because we've also got our bases, right, and people are building on base. Blast is about to roll out, and Blast wants to be the finance chain. That's what Injective wants to be, right? But Blast is EVM. So will the EVMs win, or will the IBC community win? I think that's what we're going to see play out in 2025. And I think it remains to be seen. I think right now IBC has the head start. EVM needs to figure out how to make their L2s better, or even L3s better. But if they do, then it could be, all out race. And the only winners should hopefully be us, right? But I do think it's important to track the trends and be exposed, but not overexposed to any of those as well.
So how does Moonpay work with, let's say, the Cosmos ecosystem? How does that work?
Right. Great question. Yeah, I forgot to answer that one. So we are currently we're working on the proposal now. We on-ramp a couple different things, but we're working right now to be the on-ramp for about every token in the ecosystem. I just saw the proposal not too long ago, and we're working on being the buy and sell and swap ramps for Atom, Injective, and Celestia first. And then also they have a stable coin. It's like an omni-chain stable coin, like USDC, and there's like a symbol. So we're also going to offer that. So that'll be our first sort of foray breaking into the space. And what we're also looking into right now and wanting to do potentially is be the fiat offering on those marketplaces. A lot of those marketplaces don't have any on-ramp at all, but two, they definitely don't have any fiat offerings. And so we believe that the ecosystems will be sort of super powered if you can check out with fiat or credit cards using Moonpay checkout on those. And my example is stuff like, Pallet Exchange, like for SEA. The SEI token, SEI, is going ballistic. It's almost to $1 today, right? It's been going crazy. A lot of people want exposure to that and also want exposure to the NFTs. And I myself personally, there's 2 or 3 NFTs that I would have purchased yesterday if I could have bought them with fiat, but I'm not really ready to commit my crypto to it, right? And so you can kind of live the best of both worlds. And we're going to try to kind of do that across all of the different Cosmos ecosystem marketplaces and really be the first and best to offer it. And I think that'll be a really huge differentiator for those communities. So I'm talking about Stargaze.zone, Pallet Exchange, Degoria, Italis on Injective. All of those things are just begging for some support, and we want to be the partner that gives to them.
What does the concept of interoperability, okay, I got this word right. I could say it in one take. What does that mean for viewers, and why do you think it's important for the future of crypto as well, being able to do all of this?
Yeah, so I think that's actually the number one use case for Web3 crypto space in general is interoperability. The first question I always ask or that I always bring up if talking to a new partner or someone new who's trying to do something in the Web3 space is why use Web3 if Web2 solves the problem, right? If we don't need to solve a problem with Web3, we shouldn't, because generally speaking, it's more expensive to solve the problem and it's less understood than the Web2 space. And I have less control over it, right? If I could just flip a bit in a database, why would I not do that versus say minting you a membership to say you have access to something? So there needs to be a compelling reason why. It's my opinion, and really our thought at Moonpay in general, but really my opinion that interoperability is like one of those number one use cases. So today for, let's use like Nike is a great example, right? Nike has a huge amount of reach. So if I have a Nike NFT, which I do, if I wanted to be granted, say, a discount from their partners at NBA.com for holding a Nike NFT, the only way that they could do that is by sharing their database with, like Nike, you have to share their database with NBA.com, or they would have to share their authentication method at minimum, or do something like send out their own coupons or some stuff like that, right? There's ways to do it, but it's not really super convenient for the company. But in Web3, I can just connect to my wallet to the site. The dApp will check my contents. It will give me the discounts that I earned, or it'll say, yes, this person is a holder, and therefore grant them access to something. So being able to, take one single identity, one single login across the entirety of the internet is incredibly valuable, right? I hate having to create a new account at every site. Like working in Web2, like if I do anything in Web2 world now, it's like, all right, I need a new account for this site, or sign in with Google, right? Which is the same authentication method, but again, the data is not talking to each other. So they know nothing about my previous experiences. But, interoperability and really customization is super powered by Web3, right? We know all the contents of people's wallets because it's public information. We can, if people tell us who they are and grant us permission to, we can go back and see like, all right, this is who they are. This is what they've done in Web3 world, right? So now we have a really great understanding of who they are, what they like, what they should be presented to. And we can build a better algorithm than, say, the social media places are doing right now to present me with ads that I don't care about. So yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think interoperability across different sites, different places in general will be is the number one use case for Web3. And really then the next step to that is sort of interoperability across blockchains, right? Without having to do too much thinking or too much like switching and things like concepts of that, right? Like the payment space will totally be changed when I don't have to think about chains or tokens or any of that stuff. And I'm just like, let me send money to you and let someone else figure out how that money gets there and in what format. And that's what we're working on.
And I was going to ask you too, your recommendations for the best wallets to use based on the different blockchain platforms.
Yeah, so great. Oh, that's a great question. So I think I've been a MetaMask person for EVM, but I will say, I will concede, I think Phantom is the best EVM wallet. I think Phantom is the best Solana wallet. And I think Phantom does a great job with Bitcoin and ordinals. They have like a test net now they're working on. So I really like what Phantom is doing a whole lot for your main chains, basically Bitcoin, Ethereum, or EVM, if you will, and Solana. For Cosmos ecosystem, Leap wallet probably does it the best, LEAP. They have the easiest way to add chains, really easy staking mechanisms. However, from a hub perspective, Kepler, KEPLER, Kepler wallet is a little bit more user-friendly when you're like looking at the hub and seeing their staking and stuff like that. It's just not as good when you're trying to add new tokens and new chains in general. So, I mean, I also have a ton of other ones like, Doge Labs wallet, I think is actually pretty solid for Doganoles. They're doing stuff on like Dogecoin, right? So there's a whole ordinals of that Doge chain, which I got into a little bit just to learn it. Unisat does a really good job from a Bitcoin ordinals perspective as well, if you're really focused on ordinals only. And then if you're, last one, I promise, if you're using like just Say, it's like SEI is your number one thing, then I suggest using Compass Wallet, COMPASS. Say works with Leap, but Compass connects to more dApps right now. So like I have the same wallet. I signed up for a Leap wallet and I used that seed phrase to create my Compass wallet. And so they're the same, like, they're the same contents, but I use Compass to connect with sites. And then I use Leap to actually do like transacting and things like that. So
interesting.
It doesn't need to be that complicated, by the way. It shouldn't have to be this complicated, but it is. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Christopher, what are your predictions for the overall crypto market for 2024, 2025?
Yeah, so I think we're going up this year, especially towards the end of this year and into next. I think we are going to go up.
Why do you say that?
So I think, well, we've got a couple of big reasons. There's some headwinds, but I think we're going to get past them. So the reasons, like the negative things that we're looking at are things like Celsius sell-offs and FTX sell-offs. MTG Gox is unlocking their sell-offs. That's been 10 years. And the sell-offs from Greystone, Bitcoin. But those things aside, interest rates are getting cut 3 times this year in the U.S. It's going to be a huge bull market for that. I believe China is also, they're definitely going to cut their interest rates to like almost zero because they are, or even negative. They can even get that negative because they are really having a GDP problem and a workforce problem. So those two are huge, right? Risk on assets are going to go up. We have the halving coming from Bitcoin sometime in the summer. So that's where the hash rate becomes twice as hard to mine the next block of Bitcoin. And usually as Bitcoin goes, so goes the rest of the industry. And then we're also going to be getting a ton of airdrops, like I said, airdrops to support the Cosmos ecosystem through about the first half of the year. I start to get worried about that ecosystem towards the August to September timeframe because there's a bunch of huge token unlocks that are coming in October, right? So be wary of the token unlocks. But I think the industry, I mean, we obviously got the Bitcoin ETF and it went up and then straight down, right? Of course, but Ethereum ETFs are right on the horizon. I think that happens this year or early next. I think, and then mostly like companies are actually going to be building things on top of the blockchain and using it. And that's what's going to make it really valuable. Like I definitely see someone like Visa starting to do their settlements on Ethereum L2s. And when that starts happening, right, that makes the Ethereum token go up because those L2s still have to use Ethereum to settle. So yeah, I think we have a lot of bull things coming into this year. And I'm really thinking that like end of 2024 going into 2025 is when we're going to see like an explosion. Like I think end of Q3 into Q4 2024, we're going to see like the multiples start to really rise. And so it's probably, not financial advice, do your own research, but it's probably a good time to start investing some of the extra capital into the crypto space and getting their returns to yield by the end of this year.
Wow, you made it sound like such an exciting year. So I'm excited for this year.
I do. I think it's going to be a huge year, like as bad and as negative as like 2020, 2022 into 2023 was. I think 2024 and 2025 will be that exact inverse. So I'm really hopeful that that we're all going to make it, right?
I know that was like the ethos. Like when I first started in this space, I was like, "Wag me, we're all going to make it." So, an exciting time also to be doing this interview with Moonpay, of course. So many new things coming your guys' way as well for 2024. So. Yeah, I'm excited for this big year. We'll see what rings true at the end of the year.
Yeah, I know, right? We're going to come back and check how we did. And it's like Bitcoin's going to be at 25,000, Ethereum's at 1,400, Celestia doesn't exist anymore, which would be totally wrong.
My parents are still not buying anything.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah, was that hard for you to talk to your friends and family about the jobs that you have or like what you're doing? Or, I've always considered myself a weirdo, but now doing this, it's like, they put me to the forefront, like, okay, she's doing some weird stuff. What's it been like for you?
Yeah. So most of my friends are like really tech forward, and we were the ones talking about Ethereum back when it started. So they get it. A lot of them get it and are trying to figure out how to get more involved. But yeah, like my family members, a lot of people who, if I just try to explain what I do to like people, it's very challenging. Like I don't have a good elevator pitch for it yet.
Yeah, like what do you like Thanksgiving dinner? What do you say? Is it like the memes? Like I just work online. Like what do you say?
We create verifiable digital assets. That's the new buzzword we're going with. Not, NFTs were so 2021, digital collectibles were 2022 and 23. We're going with verifiable digital assets in 2024. And I'm just like, we enable people to buy things online, right? That's a really easy, simple way to say it, right? Or own things online. And then when you get into the nuances, it becomes a little bit less clear.
I love that. Well, Christopher, thank you so much for being here. I always say at the end of the show, of course, this is not financial advice. Do your own homework. And nor Chris or I will ever DM you. We'll never give you financial advice in the DMs. So if you do want to get a head start with Moonpay, if you want to start buying your first cryptos with your Visa credit card, right, you can do so as of today. So I'm going to put all the links down below. You can follow Chris and I on your favorite social media apps. I'll put all the links down below. Chris, any last words?
Everybody go out and collect some NFTs in 2024. Sorry, verifiable digital assets.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much, Christopher.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.